Check it out.
You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars.
It's only me watching. Oh, we want to
You
focus.
are welcome.
You hear it. Ambient noise.
Yes.
You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome. Holy welcome. Holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome. Holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome. Holy welcome. Holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome. Holy welcome.
rock, our new drummer. And he's also got another function around here. For you, those that have not met him, this is our new senior minister, Reverend Joe Kovach.
Coming in hot. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. How funny was it? I go to click the first slide and my PC froze. And I was like, here we go. This is what it's all about. This is literally a dream come true for me to look out and see people that are not in little tiny boxes. While I'm home, I can actually hear you laugh and breathe and do whatever else you're going to do appropriately while you're here. Some housekeeping, if we could. I'll make sure that our phones are on silent. I'm sure you can do that. Yes. Okay. In case you're not aware, okay. Bathrooms are down to my right, your left. They're all unisex. There's two, so help yourself as you need to. Because I'm nervous. What do you think? So I do want you to actually, that song said, take a look around. Just do me a favor, stand up, take a look around. See our neighbors. If you'd like to, just take a minute to greet somebody near you. Maybe somebody you know, somebody you haven't seen in a very long time.
Thank you for saving my life.
I may be the only one with
Thank you. Thank you so much. Did you? Oh, yeah, I like him a lot. I can't play the bass like he does, so we do a little country strumming.
That's okay. It's still a great song.
It is, it is.
However it's played.
Perfect for today.
That's right.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, let's return to our seats. Excellent. So I know I don't have to say this, but I'm going to say this because I have to, which is, keep in mind that it's the first time, so if things are out of order or whatever, I know I'm going to ask you to do what we teach, which is just go with the flow. So if things freeze, just in case you weren't aware, we don't have internet today. It's some snafu that happened earlier in the week, and it's all good. We are recording it, so we are streaming it, yes? So I want to say hi to everybody at home. We're working on everything. We'll get a better vision, but we will post the full service online just in case you want to relive it, right? It's usually reversed, right? Usually you're at home. Now you want to be here. So now you're here. You want to go at home and rewatch it. So welcome everybody. Something new that we're going to do is a ceremony, and we call it lighting the flames of faith. So I just ask you to sit and listen, please. So we perform the Flames of Faith ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all people and all things, all beings, come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. We're going to look over there. Okay. So the unity candle represents, oh wait. The unity candle represents the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. There we go. We light the first candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the second candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the third candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the 5th candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the 4 noble truths and the path of compassion. We light the 6th candle for Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the 7th candle for all forms of Islam. Oh, thank you. Honoring the path of compliance with the will of God as the highest calling. We light the 7th candle, we light the 8th candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the 9th candle, acknowledging religious science and all forms of new thought, a metaphysical path of mental healing through the... We'll get there. Thank you. Start that over. The metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principle. We light the 10th candle for inclusivity, affirming that all are welcome here, including those who have not yet found their faith. And lastly, we light the healing candle. And we invite you now to silently put into the light the names of your loved ones, knowing that they are now the perfect expression of Spirit's eternal wholeness and love. And so it is. So before we introduce, first of all, this is Alan Stanley, our amazing musician, so let's give him a round of applause. And there were some things I wanted to do. I wanted to thank everybody that's here and present. So Marina's doing tech today. Thank you, Marina. Marina's also helping me with our audio and sound. Thank you, Marina. We have our practitioners around. I'll get back to them in a little bit, but I do want to focus on Star in the back, who is holding high watch, high consciousness, just keeping divine light and love here for all of us during our service. So now it's my honor to reintroduce Alan, and he's going to take us into our next song, and then practitioner Chris Ricardo will do our reading and our invocational prayer today.
Thank you, Reverend Joe. Isn't this great?
Yeah.
It was. So we're going to relax a little bit and sing this song, and then Chris is going to come up for us. For you, those that don't know me well, I am famous for paraphrasing even songs that I write. So just sing along with the screen and we'll catch up with you. I am worthy of my own love. I am worthy of my own love. I am worthy of my own love. I am precious, a child of God. I'm not too little or too much. I'm not too little or too much. I'm not too little or too much. I am enough just as I am. I am worthy am worthy of my own love. I am worthy of my own love. I am sin, who I am. I stand up and speak my truth. I stand up and speak my truth. I stand up and speak my truth. I am strong and I express myself. I am worthy of my own love. I am worthy of my own love. I am worthy of my own love. I am a light of God. I am a light of God.
My name is Christopher. I've declared my name Christopher recently as life is changing for me and I'm experiencing new things. And it was the name I was born to. It's on my birth certificate, and I've always gone as Chris. But I'd like to introduce myself today as Christopher. And I'm going to do a reading out of our Science of Mind magazine. It's by one of my original ministers many, many years ago. His name is Reverend Dr. Jim Lockhart. He currently lives in Paris, and he teaches a lot of really cool classes. And we're addressing the topic of shadow work this month. As many of you know, and those of you who don't, it's looking at that dark sides of ourselves that may be buried, may be hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and do this reading, and then I'm going to take us into affirmative prayer or invocation, we call it, but I'm probably going to do more of an affirmative prayer. I used to do when I got the mic. So this little piece of this article is called Shadow Work and New Thought. And it reads, although several New Thought founders wrote and taught indirectly about the shadow aspect, New Thought has largely set it aside over time. Only in the past few years has shadow work begun to reemerge as an important element of spiritual growth and development. In the Science of Mind magazine, Ernest Holmes wrote, "You and I could not criticize unless the criticism was in us, repression and projection. You will not see nothing in anybody else unless you have it in you to see it. You are what you say, and what you say is what you must become. You cannot see a thing in me, but what you see in yourself first." We all have shadow aspects, and we all project them onto others. When someone else's behavior triggers our own shadow, we deny that we ourselves are the source of our discomfort and blame the other. If we don't develop an awareness of this, we continue to do it. It's an unconscious process. The only way to become aware is to notice when we react in a strong way emotionally. Nearly all, if not all, conflicts in human relations are due to this unconscious projection and denial of shadow. Praying, meditating, and affirming, although essential spiritual practices, don't penetrate the shadow elements in our unconscious mind. What we have repressed continues to be active in how we see and respond to the world and is not so easily penetrated. Often students of New Thought learn and use the tools of manifestation pretty well for a year or so, and then they hit an obstacle at some point. That obstacle is the shadow. Deeper, often painful work is needed to heal our shadow. Having our shadow aspects revealed to us is not a pleasant endeavor. Perhaps this is why so many of us choose or are taught to focus only on the light side of our being. Although we may avoid some pain this way in the short term, long-term transformation will not come about. The repressed aspects deep in our unconscious remain unaffected by these surface activities. It's like paving a road without filling in the potholes. No matter how good the pavement is, what is underneath will continue to affect how the surface performs. I recall hearing the words to the effect of, it's not coming easily. If it's not coming easily, it's not your path. And I've heard that from New Thought teachers and ministers alike. However, I've come to realize that, I don't know what's happening to my voice. Shadow work, speaking in front of people. So we've heard that from New Thought teachers. However, I've come to realize that struggling is usually present if I seek true change in my life. I want to be up here speaking more often. I have to get over some fears. So with that, I'm going to bring us into affirmative prayer and vocation. And this is the part where we find in ourselves that we're here, we're present, we're open, we're listening. We take these words, we bring them with us when we leave the center, and we work the program. Because as I read, the shadow work is there, and it needs to be brought forth. So as I do this, I invite you to close your eyes, be comfortable, and let my words speak in the first person as your words. So I know and I recognize there is one divine source, one intelligence. It's in this room, in this moment. It's in everything. It's in the breath. It's in the heartbeats. It's in the thoughts. And it's always there. We might not see it. We might not know what it is, but it's always there, always present. It's the divine intelligence. It's consciousness. It's our minds. And as I know that it's in all things and everywhere, I know that it's in each one here. I know that everyone's minds are open, loving, kind. And they're working through this life as human beings. So as I know this, I open the service that each thought, each heart, each consciousness is brought into a gentle place of awareness. And as I know this, I know that all the dark shadows that exist with each of us are only opportunities for us to bring the light. And once we bring that light, we begin to heal. And that's when the love comes, and that's when the growth comes. So I open service with love in my heart for everyone that's here, for everything that's happened up to this point to get us here. And with love and gratitude for the shadows, I say, and so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you, Chris.
Mm.
We all love you, brother. Well, let's go pick it up a little bit. I don't need no sticky microphones, but. So we've been doing some transitioning since I've been hanging out with this group for about 5 years now. We've had ministers come and go. We've had buildings come and go. And we keep going. And we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but in faith we know we'll be here. There's a path that we know many people take, seeking truth and some things unexplained. Setting out on a road that is mostly unknown, sometimes cast our trouble and pain. We set out each day, not knowing what's ahead, and wondering what lies around the bend. In faith we know that wherever we go, life's eternal and this road has no end. Endure the mystery, embrace the change. Only one thing remains the same. That's Holy Spirit calling our name. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Now we come together and move along, declaring heaven right here at home. We honor the old ways and bless the new. Honor the old and welcome you. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Only one thing remains the same. That's Holy Spirit calling our name. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Deep inside, we all know if we only let go and let God lead, there's nothing to fear. The slower we go, the sooner we know, and everything will become clear. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Only one thing remains the same. That's Holy Spirit calling our name. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Only one thing remains the same. That's Holy Spirit calling our name. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Welcome home.
Sorry about that. Can't do both at the same time.
Check, check.
Ouch.
Okay. One more round of applause for Alan. And I want to honor you, Chris. I know that Christopher, thank you. Well, hey, it's been 10 minutes. Thank you for being here, my friend. It appeared so. And so what I know, though, is I felt everybody holding it. And that was what the prayer was, so it was perfect. Whew. We made it. We got a whole back row now filled in. This is nice. Maybe we should start doing the wave. Oh my goodness. How nice it is. This makes the drive well worth it, I gotta tell you. I come from Las Vegas. It's roughly an hour 45 to get here, and a little coffee on the way to wake up. Not too much, otherwise I won't remember what I'm gonna say. So if I forget today what I was gonna say, you'll know I had too much coffee this morning. So we're gonna do a little something unique today in this sense, because it's our first day here in our new building. I do want to continue on with the message from our monthly theme, which, as Christopher mentioned, was talking about the light and the dark. And I want to do a little something honoring Mother's Day. So last week, with regards to our theme, we talked about the idea that both light and dark were aspects of God or source. And if it's, let me real quick, if you want me asking, raise your hand if you're willing to, want to, if it's your first time here as in this community. I want to welcome you all. I'm going to do my best not to use a lot of jargon. So, and please call me out if you're like, I have no idea what that means. I don't mind if you ask, what does that mean? All right, that's one thing I want to do. This is a community. And if I'm talking over your heads, then I'm not doing my job. So when I talk, I aim to inspire you on your own path, not my path. My examples are my examples that have helped me understand this thing that we call life in God. And so if it If it aligns with you and it inspires you, great. And if you're like, I have no idea what this guy's talking about, then do what we teach, which is understand what you didn't like about it, and then think about what you would rather experience. Because every talk that I give is going to be based around that principle right there, that we're all on our own individual path, recognizing that same thing. It goes by many names. We often use it as love, but you'll hear me call it God and Spirit, Source, and everything else. And usually as I start talks, I like to ground, and that's the name of the talk. And I'm going to ground this with a quote by our founder, Ernest Holmes. And he says, no harm can come to you when you know that God is at the center of everything. This knowledge will protect you from all evil. Evil is as night before the onrushing light of your consciousness. It is as darkness dissipated by the sun of your faith. It is as fire extinguished by the waters of your spirit. So in other words, when we ground in that perfect presence that we call God and Spirit, we're in a good place. We're in that absolute infinite intelligence. And I've been using that more and more lately because I want to know that thing that I call God already knows what I need to know and is leading me to that and through that. And so whenever we're maybe looking at aspects of ourselves before we do meditation or so forth, I do some kind of activity to ground me in that perfect presence and what I'm aware of in that moment, because we know this now moment changes all the time. And if you ask me in 10 minutes what my now moment is, it's going to feel and be different. And so, again, whatever we're doing, I have a daily practice before I go to work to ground myself, and then when I get there, and then even when I move buildings, I work at a school, so when I move buildings, I do a little thing where I ground myself, because I want to leave behind what I need to leave behind, and I want to be present for what I'm doing next. So this week, we're going to continue to look at this idea of, but we're going to look at the idea of unlearning fear, the fear of darkness. Excuse me. Think about it. When I say the word darkness, where does your mind go? It's usually not a positive, life-affirming place. We've been generally taught to fear it instead of embrace. That was a perfect song, embrace the change, but are we willing to embrace what we call the darkness? In order to appreciate the beauty of darkness, it takes a little bit of work. It takes unlearning what we have learned. And often we don't even know what we've learned because a lot of it is automatic. It's what's been thrown at us in our consciousness, and we just kind of end up going, yeah. But when we say yes to something, we're affirming it. And we affirm it, we bring that into our lives. So whenever we recognize something of darkness or some limitation, first step is always to own it. So I'm going to ask us all, are you willing to unlearn these ideas that we've learned about fear, that it's bad?
Yes.
That's a good start, otherwise I probably have to leave. That's what my talk's about. So a couple ideas. I'd like us to think about the idea of partnering with the dark or the shadow instead of trying to control and label it. That's what we do as humans. We want to nitpick it. We want to tear it apart. We want to give it a label so we feel comfortable. But when we're in the change, we're not comfortable. And if we can recognize that being uncomfortable means we're changing, and if we're doing that consciously, that means we're growing, we're evolving in a way, in a method, towards a journey, or on a journey that we are choosing. And that's the beautiful thing that we recognize through our faith, is that there's infinite ways to that which we call living a great, grand, free, full life. We do it individually, yet we're all kind of taking from the same infinite bank of ideas and belief systems. So another idea is, what if we held the unknown with wonderment instead of fear? So can we think about the dark, and we're going to get there, some more ideas, with regards to, again, to letting go of this idea that it's fearful, it's something to avoid, and if I don't avoid, or if I don't pay attention, it's just gloom and doom. I would even have to agree, looking at our first quote from Ernest Holmes, that he would even define evil differently now than he did back then. Because, evil is, in a sense, a negative use of a law. And there's a jargon term. So, yes, thank you. The law, what do we mean by that? challenge myself. What we believe in our teaching is that our thoughts create things. And in essence, that thing, source, God, that creates our thoughts, that receives our thoughts, and is the source of it, says yes to everything. So if I say I'm miserable today, that it's going to show up that way because that's what we're affirming. And so, in essence, when Ernest Holmes would say it's the negative use, meaning it's the use of life really unconsciously. We're affirming something that we don't want. And we know that in religious science, and science of mind, that we want to focus on what we want. And it sounds so we've been easy. But that's, I don't, since I've discovered this faith 15 so years ago now, 16, thank you. She just pointed at my son. It was like, I loved it. Oh, this is something I can grasp. It's so easy. And every day of my life, seems to be a new twist. So, the dark. When we go into the dark, we're making healthy shifts. That's a new way I want us to think about the shadow and shadow work. Even that, the idea of termed Debbie Ford, shadow work. That makes it sound even harder now. First, now I got shadow, now I got to work at it. And Christopher's talk mentioned the idea that, oh, well, it should be easy. In essence, a lot of us feel that. If it's not easy, you're not doing it right. And Reverend Jim Lockhart, who is amazing, he was one of my teachers as well, understands that it's okay when things get messy. It's kind of like when something breaks. We don't want it to break, but after we get done repairing it, or it is repaired, there's something that's different, and if we look at the blessing, better in our lives. So a good example of this idea of not being afraid is if you think about unborn children. They're in the womb of the mother. It's dark. They don't seem to be scared. They don't seem to be fearful. In fact, many of them seem to want to take their time to come out. I don't think my wife will disagree with that statement. And so where do we learn this idea of being afraid? Some of it is through just our natural experience of growing up. We hear a loud noise or someone sneaks up behind us and all of a sudden we're like, if I can't see it, I'm afraid. And of course, with our senses, if we're in the dark, we lose quite a bit of our senses, the ability to see and control and know. But babies are just babies. They're in there, they realize that they have everything they need in that moment. So again, where do we pick up this fear? Often, it's the same way we pick up everything, which is through others. And who are the others? There are parents, our grandparents, our teachers, our friends, etc. Media. Have you watched the movies that are coming out? It's one horror film after another quite often. And now whether it's the new one with Russell Crowe and another Exorcist movie, etc., etc. And even if we don't choose to go see it, but we're bombarded by that, and we look at the headlines, and there's war, and there's disease, and all that. That puts us in a place of fear because we think we don't know. But I'm going to remind us that if there's only one mind, there's only one source of all, then we do know, and we are that. That's what we're going to affirm. Even if I'm not aware of it in this moment, I'm going to affirm that I'm aware of it until I know. That's, in a sense, the work that we do. So we have an association, again, between this idea of fear and the dark and a loss of control. So if we can work at changing that belief system, and it is just a belief system. What we call fact is fact until we have a new fact that proves the old fact wrong, right? And if you follow the teachings of Abraham et al. With Esther Hicks, there's a great quote where they say, sometimes the opposite of a great truth. So the opposite of a great truth is often another great truth. So in other words, we're doing the best we can here now today. We may be afraid of the dark. We may be afraid to look at some aspect within ourselves, and that's okay. Okay? But when we learn something else, something new, it seems to be opposite in a sense. We may be going in a completely different direction, but it's still all part of this one loving, eternal life. And so I want to keep reminding us over and over again that it's okay where we are. There are things that are unknown, that we're unaware of, that we call the shadow of the dark. And there's a way to work through that, which is simply changing the way we look at it. We assume often fear as real. We think we're afraid of something and we have facts and things, but what do we know? What do we learn in science of mind about that which is on the outside of us, which we call circumstances, is a projection of what's inside of us. So quite simply, in those times when we're thinking thoughts of fear, fear is going to show up. Why? Because I'm affirming to life, hey, this is what I want to experience. I'm really afraid of this. Well, there's a lot of reasons to be afraid. And so I just continue to affirm and affirm. Now, this is not saying that if you're walking down a set of railroad tracks and you hear a loud noise, see a bright light, and the ground begins to rumble, that you shouldn't be a little concerned. We're not talking about that, but we're talking about this idea that, well, this keeps happening in my life and I'm afraid. Well, what if I look at it? So the other important part is, and with New Thought, it kind of takes I'm going to use a bad rap in the sense that we talk about the individual a lot. But we do that from a place of recognizing that this is the source of control that we do have, our consciousness. But we don't have to work on ourselves alone. That's why we have practitioners. That's why we have classes. That's why there's a million and trillion books, and they keep coming out. And in essence, many of them in New Thought are saying the same thing from somebody else's individual perspective, and that's a good thing. So, holy cow! All right, it was later. That's what I thought. Okay, so next quote I wanted to share. I skipped that part. So one of the things we're taught is about fear. If you could read that, it says false evidence appearing real. Now it appears real because we're saying it's real, but what will change that? If it was what I consider real is the unchangeable. This idea that there is a presence that goes by many, many names, and we're not sure of it, only to the aspect that, or to the level that we can embody what we call God. And I'm not where some other people that I kind of look up to are, and that's okay. There's always more. So in other words, if we keep affirming the fearful thoughts, we're going to continue to experience the fearful reality. And I put that close. All right. So Brene Brown, love her. She's got a million quotes. She says, only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. So in essence, we can't just what we call spiritually bypass. We can't just, it's all good, it's all love, it's all light, and just expect that to change things. It's kind of like putting a Band-Aid over a hole in our car tire. It's going to last about that long, and then we change. And what happens after that anyway is really what we're saying is I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to run away. So I blessed it, and I'm going to run away. We have to be willing to do the work. That doesn't mean it has to be scary. Can we get ourselves, ground ourselves in a loving place, in a loving presence first, then maybe get some help, and then try to tackle it that way? Because what I know is, as tough as it's ever been for me to look at my shadow side, that it's so freeing once you have. We think it's horrible, we think it's that, and at the same time, I'll speak for me, I've realized that I'm not going through anything new. I'm just going through it on my own. So whether it's shame or guilt or regret, is there anybody that hasn't felt any of those? Raise your hand. All right, so it's really what we're fearful of is our own self-judgment, and that can hold us back for a long time. In the name of time, I'm going to move forward. So one simple thing that I suggest, and I've kind of mentioned it, but I'm going to put it in steps. What can we do? Is first we can pause. If we're in this fearful state of thinking, pause, push the pause button, and breathe. If you go back to Reverend Raymond, through his talk, kept going, all right, breathe, because he's bringing a trigger point, and then breathe on that. So pause, breathe, become present. Right? Know, again, go back to, and my suggestion is find a quote that works for you, that grounds you, that you can always go back to, that just puts you in your happy place, puts you in a good place. And then become aware of what you're thinking and feeling so that you can choose to change it if you so want to. So pause, breathe, become present, become aware. Sounds simple. So it's when we look at fear, it's like everything else. It's how do we look at it? Which means what is the energy that we're giving to what we're looking at? We call that the power of intention. Maybe I should say Wayne Dyer calls that because he wrote a book about it called that. But the power of attention. And it's the energy. So if I'm coming from a grounded place and I'm willing to look at some areas that are still going to be maybe triggers and still kind of ruffle my feathers, it's so much easier. It's so much easier. It's kind of like if I feel like I'm going to fall, I'd rather fall off a chair than an 8-foot ladder, right? So I'm going to bring myself down a little closer to the ground and make it easier on myself. Excuse me. I want to go back to this unborn baby. Because in the womb, this unborn baby is comforted by its mother. Even the heartbeat, it settles the baby in the womb. Often when babies are born prematurely, they put a device that mimics a heartbeat because it calms them down. It gives them a sense of compassion and love of the mother. So, except for this idea, this instinct that tells us that it's time to leave and so forth, the dark really has no other control over us. In other words, it only has power over us with what we give it. So this is why I'm really making a strong point that we start grounded. We move forward grounded with support and not make it willy-nilly in a sense. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've done all that and it's still been some difficult times. And that's okay. Reverend Marquita McAllister, who was the senior minister of my former center in Las Vegas, I'm going to say one of the best things she ever taught me was I was going through a hard time and a difficult time. And one of the things I was focused on at that point was I was upset because when I was praying, I was raised Roman Catholic, and I liked the idea sometimes of calling God the Father. It gives me a sense of being protected in a sense. Now I know God is not a man in the sky looking over me in that sense, but there's times when maybe it's just habit, but I want to go there. And she said, then go there. Her advice was stop making yourself wrong. And so when the dark comes, we judge ourselves, we make ourselves wrong. And in that instance, we detour from what we really are wanting to experience. We want to be free of this pain, free of this shame, free of this regret. But as soon as we make ourselves wrong, we really stop that. We hold ourselves back from experiencing it. So that's a powerful lesson as well, to stop making ourselves wrong. I'm going to share this quote. It's a long one, so I'm going to read it to you. I like putting the quotes up there mainly when we were online, so people can go back and look at them. So another reason why we're recording. But it says the phrase, "the world was dark and void," which comes from the Bible in Genesis, is not an indictment. It is an indication of the state of the universe in the beginning. It is the womb out of which we are born, a Genesis space for let there be. This is a mothering darkness that nurses its offsprings. I am describing a darkness that strengthens us, encourages us to push deep roots into the dark earth, where we can grow toward light fed by the darkness. So I love this quote because we often in Science of Mind use the analogy of seed, soil, plant. Seed is a thought. Soil is another term of what we would call the law. It's the part of doing this. In Christianity, it would be the Holy Spirit. And then we have the plant, which is the things all around us. So everything that we look at was a thought first. And what this is saying is reminding us that, our job is, we have a thought, we put it in the soil. What's the soil? The soil's dark. It's unknown. Yet everything is there for that seed. We don't have to do anything other than love on it, and it will do it. What often we do when we're in fear, we want something new. We plant the seed. We wait a couple of days. It's not on my time, so now I take it back up, and I want to control it. And where is it? I don't see it. But without doing anything, and I still don't know not how, and I've never read how do seeds always know which way to grow? The plant. It always knows. It just knows. And this just reminds me that we're part of nature's infinite way. We just know. But do we trust each other? Are we too busy being afraid and making ourselves wrong? And so that's kind of the light part. I mean, talking about darkness on the first day of opening center, you know, it is what it is, but I didn't want to go too deep. So if it sounded repetitive, I wanted it that way, just to keep it simple. And I will add, and I'll add this in later, if you're willing and ready to go through and maybe take a look at some of your shadow works, we have amazing practitioners that are trained to help you do so, and I'll introduce them later. All right, so we talked about this idea too of, wait, that's not the right page, I gotta go to the right page. I was gonna start over, but we don't want that. All right, there we go. So another analogy I wanted to share, which is similar to the seed soil plant, is the caterpillar's life, right? This stage that it goes through of metamorphosis. So it literally, you know, it starts off as a thing. So I mean, picture that like if we had to go through this stage. So we're all comfortable in our body, we're walking around, we're living life, and then it just happens. It's nature. Change happens. And it embraces the change. And what does it do? Does it say, here I am, light, take me? No. It creates a cocoon around itself. Into the darkness it goes. And darkness is the creative void of all life. Think of it as it's the unlimited space where things are things before they're things, right? It's where the consciousness is. It's where the ideas are. I believe that caterpillar and butterfly knows this already. So it embraces the change. And I learned this, I'm gonna say recently in the past 5 years, that while it's in the cocoon, it literally becomes goo. But yet it's gotta be conscious. And it embraces that, or else it would never evolve into something different. Walking on feet, and then all of a sudden it's flying. And in essence, it's a really good analogy that I use all the time, because when I'm going through some change, I want to be grounded. I want to be on my feet. And then when I'm feeling the goo part, I feel like I don't know what is happening. I'm trying things, it's not happening. And what am I doing? I'm resisting the change. That's when I get fearful. I resist. And when I just accept some things that are, that's when the answers come. And when the answers come, that's when I feel like I can fly. And so it's another great simple analogy. Matt Kahn wrote a great book, make sure I'm on the right one. The universe always has a plan. And he says this, he says, you have been led to believe you must first cleanse yourself of darkness before your light has permission to shine. Nothing could be further from the truth. The arising of light occurs through inspired moments of selfless action. It is not the countless hours you put into dissolving darkness that creates space for your light to shine. Instead, it is how open and receptive you are to serving. And the best way to serve is to be, going back to the last couple of months' topics of be our authentic self. Be who we came here to be, unapologetically. We're all going to screw up. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to realize we hurt someone when we didn't want to, and we all hurt people when we want to at times, and then, in a sense, regret it later, and that is part of the human experience. It doesn't always have to be, but for the essence, if you look around in this room, I think we're doing okay. And I do believe that the planet right now is going through a change of consciousness. That's why we're seeing some of the crazy things, in essence, because they can't be healed until we recognize what it is first. So I'm going to share a story with you. We're going to make a switch here. So let me end that in the sense of the shadow work. But this is going to bridge us from shadow work to Mother's Day. Believe it or not, yes, it will. So once upon a time, going back to the babies, twins were conceived in the same womb. Weeks passed and the twins developed. As their awareness grew, they laughed for joy. Isn't it great that we were conceived? Isn't it great to be alive? Together, the twins explored their world. When they found their mother's umbilical cord that gave them life, they sang for joy. How great it is, our mother's love, that she shares her own life with us. As we stretched into months, as weeks stretched into months, the twins noticed how much each was changing. What does it mean? Asked the one. It means that our stay in the world is drawing to an end, said the other. But I don't want to go. I want to stay here always. We have no choice, said the other. But maybe there is life after birth. How can we be that? How can there be? Responded the other. We will shed our life cord, and how is life possible without it? Besides, we have evidence that others were here before us, and none of them have returned to tell us that there is life after birth. No, this is the end. And so the one fell into deep despair, saying, conception ends in birth. Think about the irony there, right? And so, in the birth. This is birth. What is the purpose of life in the womb? It's meaningless, he said. Maybe there is no mother at all. Oh no, there has to be, protested the other. How else did we get here? How do we remain alive? Well, have you ever seen our mother? Maybe she lives only in our minds. Maybe we made her up because the idea made us feel good. Does this all sound familiar? And so the last days in the womb were filled with deep questioning and fear. Finally, the moment of birth arrived. When the twins passed from their world, they opened their eyes, they cried, for what they saw exceeded their fondest dreams. So a really interesting and unique way of flipping things around. And at the same time, we're all going through that. We have all these questions, and at some level, it's just a faith and a letting go of the oars and trusting that life is happening for our best and highest good. All right, I told you there's a mother. We're working our way to Mother's Day. So just a couple quick facts about Mother's Day. I want to say it's actually it's been around since 1907. Anna, I'm going to say her name, Jarvis, was the inspiration behind that. And she worked at Andrews Methodist Episcopal Church in West Virginia. That's where it all started. And she kept pushing it, and then it got picked up by the government and made it an official holiday. Of course, it's a celebration of honoring mothers, and let me read that correctly. A celebration of honoring the mother of the family or individual, as well as maternal bonds and the influence of mothers in society. So that was her whole stake, was honoring all the aspect of motherhood, of mothers, not just, well, in essence, the divine feminine is what we call it. So, I have a joke for you. Why did God make mothers? Because she's the only one in the house who knows where to find your stuff. No. So what we wanted to do, and we as a leadership wanted to do first was honor you for being here, but also honor mothers for Mother's Day. So I'm going to ask our practitioners to assist with the roses that we have for our mothers. Now, just like this definition, we're going to recognize mothers not just as females, because I do know as a working in schools that there are many men out there who have had to play that part on their own. So all I'm going to ask you to do is, if you feel that you deserve a rose in your own way, that we would bless you with one, we can start. Thank you. Beautiful. I want to thank Marina for getting them for us. Are there thorns?
No.
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Yes,
There
ma'am.
was one in every crowd.
Honor the mystery, will you bear thorn?
As a mother, I will tell you there are sometimes thorns.
Yes.
Raise your hand if you.
Sometimes people call me a mother, you know. I'll let you. So these are kind of reddish orange in a sense. It's like orange is relationship, is that correct? Community.
Yes, and friendship, yes.
Friendship, yeah. So they're not quite the intimate love, at the same time more of a communicable love. And I don't mind if everybody gets one. That is, we have enough to go around. Right. You're the reason she gets it. You are. You're a star chef. And understand, you don't have to have, I'm going to remind everybody, you don't even have to have your children. You might have helped, like I know even my sister raising her child, or her grandchild basically, that happens a lot. When mothers are part of the crew, well, I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. My ideas. Perfection. Are we almost done? It's so good.
I think we should all have.
Got a whole row here, no roses. Oh, okay, there we go. There we go. All right. So I want to share while we're doing this one last quote. It is another long one, but it comes from Evan Hopkins, which I like the way she honors this idea of love and motherhood. She shares that the quality of God that gives of itself, nurtures life, and holds everything together is pure love, unconditional love. And the model we've been given for this way of loving and living is motherhood. The only thing that gives us a chance to love as God loves is the fact that the feminine is within us, all of us. This is the magic of motherhood, of the divine mother. It is a get out of jail free card. The feminine liberates us from our prisons of feeling separate from one another, of living in fear and judgment. That's why we call it the divine feminine, divine motherhood. A mother's love is so complete, so nourishing, it can only be God loving through them. So we honor and love you. Happy Mother's Day to that. And that's going to bring my talk to a close. So as we always do when we end our weekly talk, I'm going to pray us out. Pray this out. So I'm going to ask you once again to take it comfortable, however you like. And know with me in this moment is that divine mother and the Father is all one. But we honor and recognize the divine feminine within us, that infinite creativity, that source where all things come from. We call it dark, and we choose to love the dark because anything and everything is possible. And there's no reason to fear because I know that we are each consciously choosing our lives. We focus on what we want. We look at things that say, yes, more, please. And we recognize that there is no limit to the good that God, that source, that spirit is in our lives. It's expressing right now. And so I bless and affirm that each one of us is willing to receive more. Why? Because we are the divine. We're not separate from it. Why would we ever hold anything back from ourselves? Why would God ever hold anything back from God? It's the same. And so we honor and we recognize each person as they are in this divine moment, through this divine experience. We bless this, our new home, for as ever long as we need it until we outgrow it. And I'm going to say, with happiness in my heart, it looks like we're doing a pretty good job of that already. Thank you, God. And so I bless each voice that hears me now or ever, even on the recording at home. We come from a place where everything is truly happening for our best and highest good, our community's best and highest good, our planet's best and highest good. Please affirm this with me by saying, so it is. Thank you. And next, I think we have you. Nope, love offering. All right, so a little music, please. So, we've discussed this as a leadership, and we do not want to do the whole pass the plate around kind of thing. What we are going to do, first of all, is recognize that all contributions are what's keeping this community afloat. And someday, but not today, I'll go into exactly a little more specifics on what that looks like. We are very transparent with our financials. You can find them online. If you ever need more detail, we are more than willing to share that with you. If you look over to my right, there's a dark square table with a bowl. You can do it. Now, we're going to play music for about a minute. You don't have to do it now, but you may. But please, if you want to make an offering, please please go ahead and deposit there. Now, the other side of it is there's cards all around that. I believe that as we give, so shall we receive. So please take, it's an affirmation card. On one side is a nice positive affirmation. The other side, which I love these cards, are questions so that we can go deeper throughout the week. What I ask you to do is hold on to that, and then when you're ready to release, maybe give it to somebody else and brighten their day. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love it, okay? We're going to give a minute of interlude here.
I am so glad, I am so glad, I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
I did,
Sorry.
that's all right. No need to apologize. If you, again, it's okay if you don't have anything right now, if you're an auto tither or you tithe or you do your phone thing, there's different ways. You still, of course, may stop by and pick up a card. It's not just for those that are dropping cash in the bowl right now. And at home, just a review. If you can, Zelle is great. It's free. We don't get charged for anything. And it is one of the safest transactions because it was a program created by banks for banks. You can give online through our website, which is, I believe, PayPal. Yep. Or snail mail, or mail checks like I do from my credit union. So just take a moment to, I'm going to ask everybody to put your hands towards the bowl if you're comfortable. And I know it's not all there, but we're just recognizing God's good grace and abundance that is infinite. And so we bless all that has been given, whether it is a thought, whether it is money, whether it is a prayer, whatever it is, we bless it. We know that it comes again from this infinite abundance that is ever ours. We are willing to receive. We are happy to receive because we know that we give back to the community. It is giving and receiving this law, and we say yes to. And so it is. Did we do, I just remembered, did we do the envelopes?
Yes.
They're over
I
there.
totally forgot that. Okay, so, sorry, newness. We created new envelopes. You can pick them up on the way in. One of the things I would like to do is have it as a source of communication. So on the envelope side, the folding side, there is an opportunity to ask for prayer. Now, if you ask for prayer this way, keep in mind that it's not going to be strictly confidential like you would be talking one-on-one to a practitioner, because it's going to get passed around, not that anybody's reading it on purpose. But just understand that you can also go through prayer through our website. We're going to cover that in a minute anyway. But also, on that same, if you don't have a prayer, I would love for you to share some testimonials. So if you needed some money, you prayed for money, and it came, share that with us, because that's what helps our community grow. It's kind of the proof is in the pudding, and I know good things are happening in our community. Even if it's just a short story you want to share, you can do it there, or you can email me, and we're going to share these from time to time to see how life is expressing through it and how we grow. Because it's so much fun to go, oh, I did something new. Why? Because my consciousness grew. So I am out of here, and I'm going to introduce Christopher to do our announcements.
Oh.
Yes, you are. Bottom button, sir. Sorry.
The bottom will start.
Yeah.
Oh, turn the mic on. No, I'm not going to be this nervous this time. I just lost my dog on Wednesday. That's what my break was. And she was the second one. My first one I lost in January, so it finalized her. And for me, it was very much the shadow and looking and seeing everyone's faces, the love just kind of got me. But anyway, so for our announcements, we have a community care circle program, and I don't know if many people are aware of it, but if you call, if you've got a loved one that needs visits or maybe needs a ride to the grocery store or needs just whatever you can think of, if you need community to step up and be present for you, use our community care circle. That's what it's there for. And then, as Joe was mentioning about prayers, if you don't want to put a prayer on one of the cards and you do feel like you want prayer, you can do it, privately within your own. You just email prayer@cslsggeorge.org, and that it goes to an inbox that's just for practitioners. We email each other and we all do prayer around your request.
Also, for today.
Oh, Star in the back is one of our practitioners, and if you do have something that's heavy on your heart or even something exciting that you just want to build, just to make it a little bit happier or anxiety or whatever, Star's in the back. She'll take you behind the screen so it's private, and she'll do a short little mini session. And our next in-person service is on June 11th, same spot, going back channel. But we will be having continuing services like next week back online, which is, the little things. I'm gonna change this again. Oh, are we on Zoom now? No, we're a little late for Zoom. We're a little late for Zoom, but normally if you're home and we get the timing down, we will be right at 11 o'clock opening up the Zoom, and we'll be live here so people can stay. And that'll be an opportunity where we discuss what was going on in service, what Joe's talked about is some kind of your theme, and we can question and answer. I love it. It's like the best part. I mean, your service was good too, Joe. Yeah, and you can find the website. If you go to CSLSG.org, you can find everything. You can sign up for our newsletter. There's a little link that gives you access to the Facebook, and it also gives you access to the Zoom link. So you just click on that, and boom, Zoom's there, and here we are. Twinkle little star. That's going to be next Sunday. That's going to be Reverend Joe, giving us that talk. And then on May 28th, lights, camera, action. Guest Reverend Raymond Anderson was amazing. I don't know those of you who saw him online. If you didn't, you can go back. You can either go to YouTube or Facebook, and all of our services are recorded. And if you just want to get the message, if you feel like you need a real good spiritual message, you can just watch just the message, or you can go pretend like you're in church and sing and all that other stuff, and then go to the message.
Song, but I want to say a couple things.
No, I have nothing.
All right, then you want to say something?
Something?
Thank you, Christopher. Oh, my clicker back. Got a laser on it, look out. Yeah. I do want to, because we have some new people here, I'm going to ask my practitioners to stand up, everybody, so they know who you are. They have the purple stoles around them. These are the people that you come to for, we call them 1 minute miracles. We just say, the way we would do this is if, let's see, I would like prayer to know that my perfect job is waiting for me in this town right here and right now. Then we would sit down and they would then pray and affirm with me that is what's happening right here and right now. And then if you feel like, hey, I would like a deeper session in a sense, you can contact any of them through our website or our prayer email, and we will be happy to do that. Thank you. There was one more thing, but like everything, our services are going to be, we're going to meet tomorrow, actually, go back over the service. So we're going to work on some things. I hope you've enjoyed, I know you've enjoyed yourself, and we're going to close this out with a beautiful song from our other musician who can't be here. She chose, how dare her, to be with her mother today. And so just wishing everybody a safe ride back home. I really, truly hope to see you next week. And I think we're going to do a little something different with chairs because This is awesome. We have a lot of people here. So it's one thing we'll take a look at. You're more than welcome afterwards to stay and have some eat, have some refreshments. And thank you to Gwen for arranging all of that. Let's give Gwen a round of applause. Thank you, Gwen. And Kelly, yeah. And take it away, sir. All right, it's our closing song, so stand up and join us. I gotta do the words.
So, gotta get the words so they can keep me on track. So it is a new day today. This is a wonderful song by Shay Barlow, my counterpart. It's a new day, it's a new life, my way.
God, they are no match for me. I'll take my faith and fly because I know that I am creating my own destiny. The past is gone, I have no power here. I'm a mighty force in spirit's atmosphere. So I choose to grow, yes, I choose to rise. Longing will not be denied. It's a new day, it's a new life my way. The clouds they are no match for me. I'll take my faith and fly because I know that I am creating my own destiny. Right here, right now, I know that I am whole. There is nothing else that I need to know. So I affirm my worth and I'm deserving of the goodness abounding in love. It's a new day, it's a new life my way. The clouds they are no match for me. I'll take my faith and fly because I know that I am creating my own destiny. As I believe it, so it will be.
Welcome home, everybody. And so it is.